The film opens with a stark screen note. It is the year 1823, and the West African kingdom of Dahomey stands at a crossroads. A young new king, Agojie, has just seized the throne, but the future is grim. To the north, the powerful Oyo Empire has aligned with the Mahi people. Together, they raid Dahomey's villages, tearing families apart and feeding a brutal trade that fattens on human lives. Captives are shackled and sold to European slavers in a cycle of greed and violence that threatens to swallow the region whole. The Oyo, wealthy from their trafficking, wield new European guns and charge into battle on horseback. But Dahomey is not defenseless. King Agojie holds a secret weapon, an elite all-female regiment known as the Agojie, led by the battle-hardened General Nanisca. As the screen fades, Nanisca emerges, flanked by her fearsome warriors. Under the cover of night, the Agojie march with purpose, blades sharpened and eyes fixed. Their mission is simple and dire: liberate Dahomeyan women abducted by Oyo raiders. The battle that follows is a thunderous clash of limbs and steel. Screams pierce the air as blood soaks into the dry earth. Fire crackles through the darkness. The fight is brutal, fast, and unrelenting. At dawn, the dust settles and victory belongs to the Agojie. Their dead lion rose, a somber cost of triumph. Survivors are gathered, captives are unshackled, the wounded are tended, the slain are buried. Nanisca, surveying the aftermath, notes with grim resolve that the force has lost too many. She needs new warriors, stronger ones. The procession back to Dahomey begins. The liberated women move alongside their rescuers. Inside the palace gates, the kingdom greets the victors with solemn pride. Among the crowd stands Nawi, a girl with fire in her eyes. She is young, spirited, and resolute. She has defied every attempt to marry her off, rejecting men who attempt to subjugate her. Her refusal to submit has earned her a reputation for defiance, and in a world where women are often defined by the men they serve, her father sees her as a burden. Seeking to rid himself of her, he offers her as a gift to the king.
I wish to give my daughter to the king.
The implication is clear. Nawi must join the Agojie. But where others might tremble, she sees opportunity. Marriage would have been a prison, but this is her path to something better. Within the palace, Nanisca prepares to train a new generation of fighters. The Agojie are no ordinary soldiers. They live cloistered within palace walls, bound by discipline and oath. They take no husbands. They bear no children. Their lives belong to the kingdom. Among them, honor flows like blood through their veins. And their words carry weight even in the king's council. King Agojie, seated high above the court, listens closely to Nanisca. She is more than his general. She is his ally, the warrior who fought for his throne and bled for his crown. When she speaks of a new way forward, of trading palm oil instead of people, the council stirs with alarm. The Oyo are strong, better armed, and richer. To defy them is to invite ruin. Yet Agojie, unlike his courtiers, does not dismiss Nanisca's vision. He listens, he weighs, he considers. Back in the training compound, Nawi struggles to find her footing. Among seasoned warriors, she is a girl with more passion than control. But then she meets Agojie, a sharp, composed veteran who defends her from bullies and becomes a quiet anchor in the storm. Their bond grows, forged in sweat and bruises. Nanisca, meanwhile, watches Nawi with a hawk's eye. She sees a spark, but fire, untrained, is dangerous. So she works Nawi hard, pushing her beyond her limits, breaking her down to build her up. During one moment of rest, Agojie and Nawi share stories. Agojie reveals her past, a story not of glory but of survival. When she was 14, her mother offered her body for sale. She cried out when the first man came. Her mother did not answer. She cried again, and her mother struck her for it. By the time the third man approached, Agojie reached for an ember. She branded him. The scars remain on her palms. Her strength, forged in that moment, burns quietly beneath her skin. Time passes. A training montage follows. The new recruits endure endless drills. They learn to fight, to think, to obey, to withstand pain and fear. Spears slash through the air. Feet stamp the earth in unison. Sweat beads along brows. Screams echo through training fields. One by one, the women rise, transformed.
Are we training to cook? You are cutting a body.
Each blow struck in training hammers them into something harder. The final test looms. The future of Dahomey rests not only on thrones and treaties, but on the backs of women willing to fight and die for their people. It is soon revealed that in the heart of the Dahomey kingdom, beneath a canopy of tradition and power, an ancient truth simmers beneath the surface. Though a king sits on the throne, the people believe in a duality of rule, one that honors both divine masculine and feminine forces. Mawu, the earth goddess, and Lisa, her male counterpart, are said to govern the balance of life. In their image, a man and woman must rule side by side. The king holds one mantle. The other is reserved for a woman king, a figure not merely ceremonial, but equal in strength, command, and spiritual weight. This position is not passed down by blood, but earned through fire, and all lips in the palace whisper the name Nanisca. Nanisca is no stranger to the fire. Her legend is carved into the very bones of the kingdom. Once a young soldier captured in battle, she defied fate. She escaped captivity, returning to Dahomey with the skulls of her enemies tied to her belt. Her name became synonymous with vengeance, precision, and undying loyalty. Yet, even as her fame grows, it remains unclear whether she desires the crown of woman king. Power, after all, is not always a reward. Sometimes it is a burden dragged across years of blood and memory. In no distant time, trouble brews to the north. The Oyo Empire, greedy and cruel, descends upon Dahomey once more. Their soldiers march with entitlement and threat, demanding not only tribute in goods but in bodies. They want 40 Agojie women as part of the offering, a brutal insult disguised as negotiation. They make it clear, without this, Dahomey will lose access to Ouida, the crucial port that lies on its own land. The king and his advisors deliberate with gravity. After much thought, King Gezo declares that only 20 Agojie will be offered. The decision creates unrest, but it is a compromise forged under pressure. Among the Oyo delegation stands a man who turns Nanisca's blood cold. General Oba Ade, the monster from her past, the one who led the men who defiled her in youth. One glance at his face, and the weight of years comes crashing down. The trauma roars in vivid clarity. Her memories return unbidden, raw and merciless. The cage, the helplessness, the agony between her legs. But Nanisca, ever the warrior, tightens her grip on composure. Her face is stone. Her soul is fire. She buries the pain deep, but it smolders. Soon, another force enters the chessboard. Portuguese slave traders arrive in Ouida. They are led by a cold and calculating Santo Ferreira. Santo is flanked by Malik, a man of mixed blood, part Dahomean, part foreign, walking the line between worlds. Their alliance with the Oyo, cloaked in politeness and trade, spells danger for Dahomey. Santo sees only profit. Malik sees more. He watches the Agojie with a kind of reverence, especially one of them, Nawi. The tribute does not unfold as expected. The Agojie arrive not as prisoners, but as messengers of war. They bring heads, not their own, but those of the Oyo soldiers who dared linger in Dahomey to feast and drink. The ambush is swift, brutal, and precise. The Agojie retreat just as fast, melting into the sea like ghosts. But General Oba Ade, wounded in pride and fury, charges after them in a fit of rage. He sees Nanisca. The past stares back. He rides to strike. Amid the chaos, Nawi, young, bold, and the only cadet chosen among the elite 20, sees what is unfolding. She does not hesitate. She launches herself into the fray, intercepting numerous soldiers who aim to overwhelm Nanisca. Her intervention turns the tide. Nanisca escapes, but instead of gratitude, she receives venom. Nanisca, overcome by her own failure to end Oba's life, lashes out. Her words are sharp with scorn. Nawi is left stunned and wounded in spirit, yet she says nothing. Nanisca is her commander, and it is her duty to keep silent. In the quiet that follows, fate stirs again. By a river shrouded in foliage, Nawi stumbles upon Malik. He is bathing, unaware of her presence at first. When their eyes meet, something unspoken forms. Curiosity, recognition. He wears a cross foreign to her, and she is drawn to it. He explains briefly, and she listens. Their conversation is cut short when Santo appears. Nawi flees before she can be discovered, but something lingers. The next day, Malik and Santo present their gifts to King Gezo, their silver tongues weaving flattery with diplomacy. In return, the king extends a gesture of goodwill, welcoming the half-Dahomeyan and his companions, including Santo, to witness the final test of the Agojie. With calculated intent, King Gezo seizes the moment to showcase Dahomey's strength, inviting the Portuguese to observe the formidable display of his elite warriors. During the intense competition, Niwa surges ahead of the others, her strength and skill placing her in the lead. Yet, when she sees her friend Numbo falter, she turns back without hesitation. Her loyalty does not cost her the victory. Instead, it fuels her resolve. With grit and determination, Niwa presses forward again, pushing past each obstacle and overtaking her rivals one by one. The crowd roars with pride and admiration as she crosses the finish line, victorious. Malik watches from the stands, visibly moved by her spirit. His admiration deepens, not only for Dahomey's warriors, but for Niwa herself. Among the onlookers, Agojie beams with pride. Nanisca stands tall, and at her side, her trusted second-in-command Amanzi nods in quiet approval. Together, they witness the making of a true Agojie. After the celebrations fade into twilight, Agojie tends to Niwa's wounds, cleaning the scrapes and bruises earned in battle. Other members of the Agojie gather around to offer congratulations, their words ringing with respect. Niwa glows with a mixture of humility and pride. Nanisca approaches at last, offering a rare and personal word of praise. But as she draws closer, her eyes catch on a distinct scar on Niwa's shoulder. The mark is old, deliberate. A memory stirs into Nanisca, sharp and sudden. As Niwa speaks, Nanisca also makes the discovery that Niwa is an orphan. The scar, together with this knowledge, bears a symbol that only one person could have placed. Nanisca recoils, shaken by the truth unraveling before her. Amanze notices the shift in her demeanor and confronts her privately. What follows is a heated exchange. The past, long buried, rises to the surface. Years ago, during Dahomey's dark entanglements with the Oyo, Nanisca had suffered a brutal assault at the hands of Oba's men. From that trauma, a child was born. Before parting with the infant, Nanisca had embedded a small shark tooth into her shoulder, a mark of protection, or perhaps penance. She had begged Amanzi to dispose of the child, to spare them both a life of pain. But Amanzi, defying the cruelty of the command, chose mercy. She gave the infant to a group of missionaries passing through. Meanwhile, Niwa finds herself drawn more and more to Malik. He approaches her quietly, asking her to meet him at a secluded location after her blood oath ceremony. She hesitates.
No.
No.
Torn between duty and an unspoken longing, but her heart softens. That night, after completing the sacred ritual that seals her place among the Agojie, Niwa slips away under cover of darkness. She meets Malik as promised. Their conversation is tender, halting, filled with questions neither dares to ask aloud. There is a bond between them, fragile and unexpected. Out of concern for her safety and a deep loyalty to the people of Dahomey, Malik warns her of the coming Oyo assault. His knowledge is precise, urgent. Niwa listens, startled but grateful, and departs with swift determination. Back at the palace, she seeks out Nanisca and shares the warning. But instead of gratitude, she receives a harsh reprimand. Nanisca scolds her for recklessness, for trusting an outsider, for breaking protocol. The two clash, voices rising, emotions bleeding into every word. Amidst the storm, Nanisca voices her suspicions. The scar, the timing, the child she lost, everything points to a single truth. Desperate for confirmation, she helps Niwa remove the embedded object from beneath her skin. The shark tooth, small but unmistakable, tells the story neither of them can deny. Niwa is her daughter. The revelation leaves both women reeling. Niwa, unable to speak through the whirlwind of emotions, walks away in silence. Though hearts are heavy, duty takes precedence. There is no time for tears. The Oyo are closing in. Nanisca leads the Agojie into battle with unflinching resolve. The clash is fierce and unforgiving. The Dahomey warriors fight with a fire born of pride and fury. The attack succeeds. Their enemies are scattered. But Oba escapes through the chaos, and with him, 3 of Dahomey's finest, Niwa, Fumbi, and Agojie, are captured. Held prisoner in hostile territory, the 3 endure brutal conditions. Niwa, relying on her training and instinct, devises a way for Fumbi to escape. Risking her own safety, she creates a diversion and urges Fumbi to flee, knowing she can survive long enough to deliver word back to the capital. Fumbi succeeds, battered but alive. She reaches Nanisca and recounts the fate of her captured sisters. The news spreads quickly. King Gezo, recognizing Nanisca's valor, prepares to grant her the highest honor. She is to become the woman king, a sovereign in her own right, equal in power and stature. Yet, when she pleads for a rescue mission, Gezo refuses. He weighs political risk against personal loyalty. For him, the captured Agojie are a sacrifice already made. But for Nanisca, they are more than warriors. One of them is her daughter, and she is not willing to let her go. In the days following their capture, hope flickers in the darkness as the Agojie women plot their escape. But danger walks close behind them. During a daring attempt to flee, Agojie is killed. Her death is swift and brutal, a devastating blow to those who loved her. The loss lingers in the air, heavy and unrelenting. Agojie, battered but determined, manages to break free. She races towards safety, but in a split-second glance, she sees that Nawi has been seized by the enemy. Without hesitation, she turns back. Heart pounding, she charges into danger to save her friend. Gunfire echoes. A single bullet finds her. She falls. In that harrowing moment, Nawi watches her protector collapse. The pain tears through her like a blade. She screams, but there is no way to undo what has been done. Yet, from the shadows, help comes in an unexpected form. Malik appears, moved by love, guilt, and desperation. He pays a staggering price for Nawi's life. He buys her from the slavers, not as property, but as a means of shielding her from further suffering. He takes her in and treats her not as a captive, but as an equal. He brings her food and clean clothes. He bathes her wounds with tenderness. He says little, but his presence is steady, comforting. Nawi, raw with grief, mourns Agojie. Malik gives her the space to do so. The silence between them becomes sacred, heavy with meaning. In time, that silence turns into something else, something deeper. Their bond, once hesitant, becomes fierce. Their love blooms in stolen hours and quiet nights. They find solace in each other, again and again, seeking refuge in the heat of passion, clinging to what little joy they can claim in a cruel world. Meanwhile, in Dahomey, Nanisca stands at a crossroads. The king denies her the right to launch a rescue. Her title, her status, all weigh against her. But a mother's heart knows no chain. She makes her decision. Alone, armed only with her resolve and her blade, she moves out. She is prepared to defy orders, even if it costs her everything. Amanzi, her ever-loyal second, tries to stop her. But Nanisca finally speaks the truth that has long haunted her dreams. The beast she fears in her nightmares is not her enemy, not the men who hurt her. It is herself. It is the silenced child within her, the girl chained and broken, whose voice was buried long ago. For years, Nanisca has denied that inner child. But now she chooses to listen. She will no longer be silent. She will no longer bury her pain. That admission breaks Amanzi. It strips away her resistance. She steps aside, her eyes full of sorrow and pride. But her surrender is not weakness. It is clarity. Amanzi knows the cost of inaction. Quietly, she begins to rally others. Like-minded warriors, women and men forged in fire and pain, join her cause. They gather under Nanisca's banner and set out together, a silent army bound by purpose. Their eyes burn with resolve. They cross into enemy land, hearts pounding, blades drawn. They go not for glory, but for their sisters. Back in enemy land, time slows. Nawi and Malak cling to the calm before the storm. Their moments are stolen, tender, laced with the ache of impending loss. But war does not wait. Soon, chaos erupts. Alarms rise. Slavers scramble. Fires spark and screams fill the air. Nawi and Malak are forced to part. Before they do, they promise to find one another again, swearing to meet on a specific stretch of beach should fate allow. Then they separate, each running into the maelstrom. Nawi escapes and races through the carnage to find her comrades. Nanisca and her warriors strike like thunder. Their blades cut through the enemy ranks with precision and fury. As Nawi joins them, her strength returns. The slaves, inspired by her courage and unwilling to submit, rise up and fight alongside the Agojie. Together, they bring the enemy to its knees. Dahomey emerges victorious, not only through strategy, but through unity, pain, and unbreakable sisterhood. Meanwhile, Malik watches the unraveling of everything he tried to prevent. On the docks, Santos scrambles for escape. He boards aboard, urging Malik to flee with him. Malik follows, uncertain, but what he sees stops him. On board, Santos has enslaved a handful of survivors, shackled once again, forced into chains. Malik's heart breaks. He has had enough. He frees them, one by one, unlocking their bonds with quiet fury. The freed men, seething with vengeance, turn on Santos. With cold determination, they throw him into the sea. Malik stands at the edge, watching as Santos vanishes beneath the waves, swallowed by the justice of the oppressed. At long last, Nanisca finds the opportunity she's been waiting for. The enemy lines part. The battlefield narrows, and standing before her is General Oba, the man who haunts her past, the symbol of her deepest pain. Their eyes lock. The air grows heavy with silence. Then it begins. A brutal single combat erupts between them. Each strike is laced with fury, each movement sharp with purpose. The clash is savage. Metal screams against metal. Dust coils beneath their feet. Oba, larger and more physically imposing, gains the upper hand early. He strikes with calculated malice. For a moment, it seems Nanisca might fall. But then something shifts. A deeper force stirs within her. It is the child she once was. The girl who was broken, caged, and silenced. Her memories rush back. Chains, torment, fire, and in a surge of primal rage, her instincts ignite. That child does not hide anymore. That child roars. Nanisca finds new strength. Her movements become sharper, swifter, untethered. She overwhelms Oba. And when the final blow lands, it is not just vengeance. It is release. Oba falls. Nanisca stands above him, trembling, breathless, victorious. But the danger is not yet over. As Nanisca reels from the emotional storm, an enemy soldier rises behind her, weapon raised. She does not see him, but Nawi does. From the side, swift and unrelenting, Nawi drives her blade into the soldier before he can strike. The attack is stopped. Nanisca is saved. The two women stand together, bonded now not only by blood, but by the battlefield. In the aftermath, the Dahomey warriors take stock of their triumph. Victory has come, but it carries the weight of sacrifice. Lives have been lost, blood has been shed, yet the enemy has fallen. Their comrades have been freed. The long march home begins. As they move through unfamiliar lands, the warriors pass by the ocean's edge. The air is salt-laced, the sky open and endless. Nawi glances toward the shore and sees Malik standing alone in the distance as promised. Their eyes meet. She gives him a soft nod and a small, knowing smile. It says what words cannot. It is quiet, but certain. Their bond remains, fragile but unbroken. For now, that is enough. The gestures are an implicit acknowledgement of a bond that will most likely be explored in the future. The Agojie return to Dahomey to roaring crowds. Drums thunder. Cheers rise like a tide. Nanisca, the hero of the hour, arrives with mixed emotions. Her heart is not light. She prepares to lay down her command. Her actions, after all, defied the will of the king. Alone in a private corner, King Gezo meets her. His words are brief, his tone measured. He chastises her, if only lightly. But to the hearing of others, before his people, the king speaks not of chastisement, but of vision. He addresses the crowd, his voice strong, his words stirring. He tells them they are a warrior people, born not only of strength, but of unity. He calls on them to honor their minds, their culture, their bond to one another. He speaks of limitless possibility if they embrace that power. His vision is bold, rooted in pride, and clear in purpose. The people listen. The people believe. Although Shante, one of the king's many wives, has groomed herself for ascension, the king surprises all. Before the masses, he crowns Nanisca. He names her Kapojito, woman king. The title is hers. The throne welcomes her. She steps forward, regal and silent, and sits beside him. The people erupt with joy. Drums roll. The women weep. The warriors cry out her name, and old wounds begin to heal. In the quiet that follows celebration, Nanisca and Nawi meet again. They sit in the shadow of memory, and together they mourn Agojie. Their grief draws them closer. Nawi offers a trembling apology for the suffering Nanisca endured in captivity, but Nanisca refuses it. She makes it clear that none of it was Nawi's fault. The pain belonged to her alone. Then she does what she has long feared. She apologizes too. She confesses that she left her daughter not out of callousness, but out of fear. She had not been brave enough to face motherhood. Not back then. But she is now. She names Nawi as her daughter, true and whole. Nawi listens, her heart full, her eyes stinging. But the wound is still fresh, and she cannot speak. Overcome by emotions, she walks away once more. The celebration continues into the night. Firelight dances against the palace walls. The Agojie sing and drum and dance, rejoicing not only in victory, but in survival. In the midst of the celebration, Nawi returns. She finds Nanisca again, but this time she sees her not just as a leader, not just as a warrior, but as a mother. With quiet strength, Nawi calls her so, mother. Nanisca's heart stirs. Together they step into the circle. Nawi invites her to dance. There, surrounded by laughter and music and the beating of drums, mother and daughter move as one. Their embrace is long and full of restoration, the end.